So we hit record, and then my son has to scream.
It wouldn't be a Corgi Town podcast without a corgi barking.
That's right. That's right.
Hello and welcome to the Corgi Town USA podcast. We're here for you every Thursday. We talk about all things corgi and things just general with dogs. All kinds of good stuff. So I'm Candy from Corgi Town USA. In my lap is Chuckles. He's napping. He's the president of the Corgi Committee and the spokescorg for Corgi Town USA.
He is, and that's Chuckles. Hi, I'm Kat Cohen, and I am the executive producer of Corgi Town USA podcast. And sitting somewhere on the floor is my darling son, Digby, and our guest non-corgi, Australian cattle dog.
Honorary corgi.
Honorary corgi, right. And that would, in fact, be Wiggin.
Wiggin's a sweetheart.
Yes.
Well, today a few weeks ago, we talked to Miriam Valère, who wrote a book called Another New Normal. And her story was about her corgi, Sassy, and how she battled DM. And she was so gracious to give us our time. She told us about the basically the basics. Yeah.
That would be it.
That would be it. Of degenerative myelopathy. And we typically explain this disease as canine ALS.
Yeah.
It shuts down systems. It's very insidious. It is very, very hard to watch your animal go through this. Yep. But Miriam wrote memoirs about this. I have a copy of the book. We definitely recommend you check it out if it's something you're interested in. Hopefully you're not, but if you are battling DM, this is a great reference for you. And that episode is a couple weeks back. But you can find her book called Another New Normal. And she gave us some great information. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And I've had 6 corgis.
Yes.
So far, I've been lucky enough to not have had to battle DM.
Yeah.
But it's still early. I have 2 rescues that are about 10. I don't know their history. The only way to prevent degenerative myelopathy is by genetic testing. Yeah. You don't breed carrier to carrier. So I know that Chuckles here, his parents were both DM tested and they are not carriers. However, with Booger and Hammer, my rescues, I don't have that history on them.
And I don't have the history on Digby. And we don't know much about Digby. We know that he was, and this is unfortunately potentially, I don't want to say for sure, a maybe not so reputable breeder. And that is that if you see Digby and you've seen him sometimes on the show, he definitely looks like a cardigan.
Which are at lower risk statistically.
But he is papered as a Pembroke Welsh. So, what else is going on?
Well, Wiggin has something to say about it.
Wiggin definitely has something to say about it. And Australian cattle dogs have their own, are they susceptible to DM?
Australian cat, I'm not sure. I know that there are other breeds that can get it. German Shepherds. I mean, there are a few.
Yeah.
We just, being corgi people here, we know
corgis.
Yeah, and Miriam had explained to me, I believe she said, if I'm not misquoting, 56% of the Pembroke corgis are carriers. So Those are some scary statistics.
Absolutely.
And no one wants to see their beloved pet go through this.
No, absolutely not. It just seems so painful, and they can't complain, and they don't complain, and that's the thing. Your babies don't complain. They just unconditionally love you, and we just want to do everything to love them back and take care of them and
keep them as happy and healthy as possible.
That's right.
So one of the things that we recommend for sure is, of course, rescue if you can, always. But if you're looking for a puppy, we ask that you definitely vet your breeders and ask them questions, that they do the appropriate testing, have a look at the dame, look at the sire. If you get pictures, be sure and get that documentation on that testing. It's not so much about registration as it is genetic testing and doing proper health testing. So without my further pontification, we are going to bring on our special guest. Her name is Tauni Beckmann, and she started Shade Out DM, which raises awareness for degenerative myelopathy. Tauni, welcome.
Hello there. Got my shades on.
Yes, perfect. Shade out DM. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to join us today. We know that you have 1,000 hot irons in the fire. So
Yes.
thank you for letting us be one of those hot irons.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Shade Out DM, actually, we weren't trying to do this as a regular thing. We actually just took the journey with my dog, Casey. And it took us 5 vets and 3 chiropractors to figure out what was going on. Nobody knew. And I've had corgis for over 25 years, and I'd never heard of DM. So it was quite foreign. I'm a horse trainer, so I noticed her gait change early on and started digging and just started taking her to doctors and chiropractors trying to figure out what we could do to help her. At the time, we thought maybe it was a neck injury. We thought it was a torn ACL, everything under the sun. And long story short, it ended up being degenerative myelopathy. And so when Casey crossed the bridge, the people kept saying, you need to keep doing this, because they took the journey with us on her Facebook page. So that's when she passed away and crossed the bridge. One of our loving friends that actually was taking her second corgi. She ended up having 3 corgis take the journey. So she took the DM journey for 10 years,
Oh my God.
nonstop. All of her corgis were related. And so it was her second corgi that took the journey in what's the word, conjunction, like at the same time as Casey did. And so I relied on her expertise and her knowledge to help me through it. And so, to her credit, she's the one that said, why don't you keep doing this and call it Shade Out DM? And because Casey, we would play when she did her hydrotherapy, and she wore her little sunglasses. So
Aw.
we always had, while she was swimming, she always had different sunnies on, and it kind of became a thing that she swam 2 to 3 times a week. And so every time people started sending us sunglasses from all over the world, and
Wow.
every swim session, she wore a different pair of sunnies just for a picture, and we'd post that. And she loved it because she'd always get the attention that corgis love, of, oh my gosh, how cute. So it was right up her alley. She was a superstar. And like you ladies were saying, corgis are not pitiful. They're wonderful, magical creatures. And they do corgi on, corgi strong, So there is a true definition behind that. These corgis are amazing, and they are so tough. Some of the other breeds do have a lot more trouble, and I didn't realize how prominent this was in so many other breeds. So I'll quit talking and let you ask me questions.
You are our guest and you have the floor. So you speak as much as you want to. But we do have some questions for you. And
Yeah.
I'm having some mic monkeys. Here we go. So, and then Casey adorns your logo. So we see that behind you with her shades. And I'm wearing my Shade Out DM shirt.
Yay!
Yay.
And and I have the pin as well, but I was just telling Kat, you have the other pin.
Yes.
And I have the Casey pin, and I just removed it. I'm not wearing it. I removed it because I went to the airport recently, and I was afraid they would take it because of the
Yeah.
so I forgot.
Don't get it taken away.
No. So I forgot to wear it for the episode. But so
Thank
I do
you.
have some questions for you, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know, so we were talking about other breeds that get this disease as well. And we know that there's one method, and that's prevention, which is why we talk about the importance of a good breeder, reputable breeder. And
Yeah,
we
but
tell,
just so
go
you
ahead.
know, I mean, even there are some very reputable breeders that are not feeling it necessary to breed out the gene. So it's not just the puppy mills, it's a problem. It's across the board. We want to make sure that all pups, if you're thinking about breeding, get them tested first. You can
Yeah.
prevent this disease by doing the testing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and Miriam talked about that too, that some breeders, even though they're reputable, they don't, just because they carry the gene does not guarantee that they're going to come down with it. And so to them, the logic is that,
They justify it.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that risk just seems not worth it.
It's too great. The risk,
Yeah.
I think, is too great.
Well, I'll tell you, this disease is still. Dr. Coates from the University of Missouri does a lot of studies on it, and I mean, there's a lot of studies that are going on. It's still new, and so they're still trying to determine what triggers it to start. Clearly stress is a trigger. So like Casey developed DM. She started showing the signs at age 8. That is supposed to be very young. And I had breeders telling me, oh, well, it's old dog disease. And honestly, Casey's the only dog that I've ever bought. All my dogs have been rescues, all my corgis. And honestly, she was one that I picked out from a very reputable breeder. I don't blame her breeder because she was born in 2005 and the diagnostic test kit didn't come out until 2008. And as soon as she did find out that this was a thing, she immediately started doing the testing. I don't blame her one bit.
Yeah, that was
But I
still
do,
early in infancy before,
yeah,
before we knew.
yeah. But I do hold the breeders accountable that want to dismiss it. It's a horrible disease and can be prevented. End of story. There's no reason to continue breeding this disease, in my opinion, because you can't prove what the triggers are yet. You cannot, like, say, I'm going to go through life and just not trigger it. Casey had stress in her life. She had ailment after ailment. She started off from the breeder. One of the other puppies in her litter, after we'd picked her out, one of the other puppies poked her eye and damaged her tear duct. So all of
Aw.
her life, she's had eye problems, and we've done ointment every morning, every night, and she did fine with that. The breeder actually was very great, and she's like, oh, you can pick a different puppy. And I thought, why? If she needs ointment, I'll do it. I know I can do that for her. So, for me,
Sibling
and that,
rivalry.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think for me, that made it harder to lose her because we had that bond really deep from the beginning.
Right.
Every morning, every night, anytime it was dry out, anytime it was windy, anything, it was always check her eye, check her eye, check her eye. And she was so good about coming and saying, can you help me with my eye, because it didn't produce tears.
Oh,
So
Right.
anyway,
Oh.
then she ended up getting bladder stones and had to do bladder stone surgery. And I really feel like that surgery may have been the trigger that started this. And but there's no way. There's back to there is It's still a new disease. They're still doing testing. They're trying to figure out what causes it. The dog studies are contributing to the human ALS studies, which is really exciting from my view, because I have friends that have had ALS and
Oh.
passed away. I've had family members that have had ALS and have passed away. And so the connection there for me is very personal. And I am a part of a ALS support group also. And gosh, it goes hand in hand. Exactly the same journey as with the dogs. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
devastating. My grandfather actually had 2 neighbors that had it, and both of them, I believe both of them have passed away. He would go and read to them towards the end,
Yeah.
and one of them, that was his favorite thing to read, and it started where he couldn't control his arms or legs, but he loved to read, and so my grandpa would, like, actually hold the book for him, and then he had trouble with his eyes, and so my grandpa would go and read to him. But yeah, I've heard those stories, and it's devastating for dogs, it's devastating for humans, it's very insidious. But getting back to the Shade Out DM organization, so from what I understand, I mean, you help many, and these are different breeds. It's not just corgis. We just happen to be
yeah.
corgis here at Corgi Town, USA. So, can you kind of give us a brief rundown on what Shade Out DM does as an organization to help, and how our listeners and viewers can help?
So there are a lot of groups out that are centered around degenerative myelopathy. And a lot of their focus is helping owners when they start to take the journey and helping them figure out what to do, where to start, what kind of cart to get, what kind of this to get. Oh, their feet are bleeding, we need boots, things like that. And we are luckily we are not in competition with any of them. We work very closely with all of those groups. One of them, I will say, Corgis on Wheels. Bobby Mayer is amazing. She helped me with Casey, and I have a huge respect for Bobby. And Corgis on Wheels is fantastic. I mean, absolutely love them. We also have a cart program also through Bandits Band-Aid, and the only reason that it is in existence is they're the ones that purchased Casey's quad cart for me and helped me when she needed the quad cart. She needed all four wheels instead of just the two. And so when she passed away, I said, what do you want me to do with this cart? And actually it turns out they've been helping boxers and other breeds also with carts. So they asked me if I'd take on the cart program for all breeds. So thankfully, we work hand in hand. I still go to Bobby regularly and say, hey, I've got this new idea. What do you think? So basically, the point behind Shade Out DM is to raise awareness. We want to shout it out and basically just educate people. I really genuinely think that a lot of people really do want to do the right thing and breed accordingly, but they just don't know. Like myself, I didn't know. I didn't breed her, but I'm saying they just didn't know. And so my thing was we just need to keep raising awareness about degenerative myelopathy. So we started going to Corgi events and raising awareness. And we have people all over the country that pre-COVID jumped in and were willing to host booths all over the country at the big Corgi events at Florida, Corgi Picnic, and Kansas, Midwest. I mean, all over they've done these events for us.
You have a
and
nationwide scream team.
We actually have an international wide scream team. Yeah.
International scream team. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a sister club over in England called Breed Out DM. Another one, big one in Taiwan.
Wow.
Another one in one starting up in Australia. So I mean, to me, we're not all like on paper documented, but we're all shooting for the same thing together. Everybody's speaking for the pups, and most of them, yes, they're all Corgi generated. They're all, but we welcome the other breeds because they're also taking the journey. And so we started going to pet walks and Corgi events, then pet walks, and then Humane Society walks, and just educating pet owners everywhere. Because when people would say, "Oh, that's too bad. I'm glad I don't have a Corgi," and I'd say, "Well, wait a minute. What kind of dog do you have?" "Oh, a boxer." I said, "Well, sorry, but this might affect you too, so come on over here." And they go, "Really? You're kidding." So then we get to talking to them, and to me, if they can relate to it, then it concerns them. And so often right now, over 100 breeds carry the DM genes, so it
Over
does affect.
100 breeds. Is that what you said? Over 100 breeds?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the top, well, I haven't so before COVID, it's been a year now. So we haven't gone to any events or anything. But before COVID, the numbers were, and keep in mind the numbers are unclear because they only count the ones that are tested. So the ones that are not tested, we don't know what the real numbers are. We'll never know. But the ones that are tested through the OFA that keep the database, the top breeds are Corgi. Pembroke Welsh Corgis are number one at 63% carry the at-risk gene.
Okay,
and
so it's
then,
63. So I did misquote that before. 63.
no, it probably changed.
Oh, goodness.
We're getting more people testing now, so the numbers will change. But then German Shepherds, Pugs, Bernese Mountain Dogs, Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, Boxers. I mean, it just goes on and on. There's just so many. And my heart, I mean, I'm always going to be partial to the Corgis, but my heart does go out to these parents with the big dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
I shipped out carts to a dog that was 109 pounds.
Oh, wow.
How does that parent do that? Pick them up. I was lucky. I could carry Casey everywhere. I would put her in the wagon, put her in her stroller, whatever. She was love to go. These I have to commend Chrissy, who did this with her Chesapeake Bay Retriever, Wesson, and they get creative. She took a hiking belt and had a clip on it that she could hold him up around her waist. I don't know how they do it. It's really phenomenal, and their love is just amazing. So,
Oh my gosh, I can't
what do we do?
imagine. Yeah, 110-pound dog
I
to. Oh,
know, I know.
It's
And a
our baby.
Bernese Mountain Dog. Maggie Hillary just did this with Maggie, and she's another one of our awareness pins. And it was, I mean, lugging them in and out of a wagon just so they can go out and enjoy the fresh air, and take them for their little walkies. And it means so much to them. So I'm getting sidetracked though. So to answer your question, then we started going to veterinary conferences because we're finding that a lot of the vets across the US don't know about DM. And not to their fault, it's just a newer disease. So they didn't learn about it when they were in school, if they're, went to school earlier. So raising awareness about that. And we went to, right before COVID, we went to the Western Veterinary Conference and met vets and vet students and vet assistants. And so many of them were grateful that they said, "Oh, so you're a support group that we can send our people to when we don't have time to help them through the problem that we just diagnosed them with this horrible diagnosis." And that's amazing that they would put their trust in us. And we do have a lot of vets on our group that do
that's
answer the
awesome.
questions for people.
Yeah.
And then there was a neurologist, actually several neurologists that came up to us and said, "Oh yeah, I diagnosed this 7-8 times a day." I
That's
was like, "Holy cow, I had no idea." So I'm learning as we go. Everybody's learning about all of this. And so my main goal, our whole focus is to raise awareness about degenerative myelopathy.
Yes,
That's it.
thank you for that. That's all very amazing information, staggering numbers. But I have
Yeah.
for those who are listening and not watching, there's a Facebook page and it's Shade Out DM, ShadeOutDM, and there's also a website www.shadeoutdm.org. That's on the screen if you're watching. And so tell us how we can help. Now I have some items here and these are little doggies on wheels. Yeah, and tell us with these products, these help. I mean, I imagine, you have a little doggy with DM, you have a little action figure.
right. And
So
it's
those were generously donated by a manufacturing company that makes wheelchairs. There's several different manufacturing companies for the dog wheelchairs. And I will tell you that fitting a dog wheelchair is like fitting a pair of jeans. The wheelchair needs to fit the dog properly.
Yeah.
So some wheels fit other dogs better than others. Some it's a matter of preference. That particular company is fantastic, and all the companies are great. They're super great to work with. The people that run them are just all loving, caring people that really want to help the dogs. Um, I don't want to have any one of them be number one because they're all great,
Sure.
they
Yeah.
all have their different advantages, their positives for each dog. Some dogs, I'll tell you, just doing this, some carts are like a Cadillac, other carts are lighter when other dogs won't walk with a heavier cart, and then I'll send them a different cart, and they're off and running, you know. So bottom line, I feel like they're all really good companies. um it just depends on the dog, and our job is to get them the tools that they need so they can continue to live a really happy, comfortable life, even though they're taking the journey, the DM journey I speak of.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just want
So
to go here on the back, learn more about walk-in wheels, dog wheelchairs, and that I will read that off to you. It is handicappedpets.com. So HANDICAPPED pets plural.com. And there is also shadeoutdm.com. So .org and .com. And you can get one of these and support some of this
yeah,
research.
they're great, and they send us those adorable toys.
Yeah, these are
um,
really cute. And for those listening, not watching, these are little wind-up toys, and we have a couple different breeds here. I believe you have a Dachshund there,
I do have a dachshund here. Yeah.
and I'm not sure which breed this one
it's
is,
a
but
husky, I think.
is he, yeah, okay, yeah, husky. And
Mhm.
they're little wind-up toys with little dachshund, little carts. They're adorable, and so these are. I think these
We
are
don't have
great.
a corgi one yet.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
I put in
Soon.
the request.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tawny.
I imagine that would be hard. I'm not sure if how they manufacture these, if it's 3D printers, but well, I don't know. They got a Dotson. I was thinking because of the short legs.
Yeah, he's got short little legs.
So as we're talking about this, so Tawny actually has, and again for those listening, you may want to meander over to our YouTube page so that you can see this. But we're going to give Tawny the controls here. She actually has a video of what it looks like in the beginning stages. And if you want to play that, Tawny, and do some explanation, go right ahead.
Yeah, so really quickly, this is Casey, and she is typical corgi. I need outside right now, and she kept dragging herself across the back patio and making little holes in her belly and her hip. And so this was my quick fix of I'm gonna stick a t-shirt on you and try to protect your little skin, because she has wheels at that time. She had wheels, but she'd been in and out and in and out, and she just wanted to get the cat down below. So you can hear, and you can also hear her voice kind of fading on it, because they do lose their bark.
Right.
Oh,
Sweet baby girl.
and you can in that shot you can definitely see that she's dragging her legs
Yeah.
and just trying her very little bestest.
Yeah. Oh, you
Sweet
love it.
girl.
You got to love the Corgi spirit, though.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those who watch that, and Tawny, the way you describe this is kind of beginning stages. So if someone is concerned, this is something to kind of watch for.
Well, they start by wearing their toenails on one foot. I mean, if you want to start even further back, they start by wearing their toenail. You can tell, because I did notice. I said, I don't know what's going on. She's wearing her toenails funny, and just one foot was wearing and the other one wasn't, and nobody knew at that time. So long story short, she that was a little further. Of course, she'd already lost her one hind leg, and she's
Right.
pushing off of her other hind leg. And it's very important to keep their front end strong. So as much as it is hard to watch, it was really hard for me to live with.
Yeah.
And
That
it
is.
was all I could do. I wanted to go and help her all the time. As a matter of fact, I might have um, made her progress more, if that makes sense, because I couldn't stand to watch her drag herself like that. So I would bend over and help her. And thinking back now, by helping her all the time, she probably ended up in that quad cart a little bit early. A lot of people had told me she didn't want to walk anymore in her wheels. And so a lot of people had told me, I said, well, what about a quad cart? And they said, oh, no, she's not there yet. You don't need to put her in a quad cart. And I couldn't take it. So I got her quad cart. And the right one came along that was the perfect fit. Casey also had a tumor in her belly, so it was a little tricky. But the vet kept saying it doesn't bother her at all. And it didn't. It just bothered me. But I was concerned that the cart would push on it or something. And so I gave her the quad cart and with the front wheels. And we go to the parks around here because obviously I live on a hill with a patio, right? And so I go to a park up the street, and she took off running straight towards a ditch, and I gave me a heart attack. I hardly could catch her in time. So clearly she was ready for those front wheels because she took off running again, and I could hardly catch her. So it's funny because I'll send people carts now, and I tell them, get your running shoes on. You never know.
Oh my goodness. And it's amazing how
ready to
quickly they can move on those short little stumpies.
Oh, well, and I thought she had slowed down, like she didn't want to walk anymore, but I think it's because she felt she had tripped a couple times with her front feet because the disease progresses up their spine, and had it, was moving towards her into her front limbs. And so I thought she was kind of slowing down, and instead she just needed a little support and she was off again.
Aw.
Can't keep a good dog down,
No, not at all.
That is something. The corgis are so determined, very
Yeah.
determined, and I love that about them. That's what helps their spirit. It really does.
Definitely. Well, we encourage everyone who is watching or listening to go to www.shadeoutdm.org. Find out how you can join the movement and be part of the solution. And we also encourage, I always say, there's that big debate. You can always make somebody cranky if you say adopt, don't shop. I'm not one of those solely adopt, don't shop. I say, please adopt if you can, start there. That's not realistic for everybody. If you're like me, I've had a mixture of rescues and breeder purchased animals. If you do that, please be sure and do your research. Make sure that they do the appropriate testing, but definitely for degenerative myelopathy that they can guarantee that your little pup is not a carrier. So, Tauni, thank you so much. We think you're doing awesome work. We hope to have you again on soon. I'm sure we can go into this and spend hours and talk about all kinds of different things, but we'll break it up so that we don't take your whole night. Do you have
It
any
takes
final thoughts?
Oh, well, I want to back you up on that, and that my new corgi that we have now, Casey sent her to us, and we don't know if we'll have to take this journey again with her or not. So we are prepared. But that was something that absolutely I wouldn't let that change it for a second, because if you have a big, huge heart and you love corgis, you're going to find a way to help them take the journey, and they need people that are going to love them through this journey.
Yeah.
They really do. So it is
Absolutely.
time consuming and a very big commitment.
And
But
emotionally draining too. So
Yes.
something to be prepared
you
for, to
know,
be able to refill your own cup. That's important when you're being a caretaker.
it is. Absolutely it is. And Layla didn't replace Casey in my heart. Casey
Of course
still
not.
has her own place in my heart,
Of
but
course.
Layla made her own spot. So, yeah, no, I thank you guys all, and just so you know, I'm grateful that you thank me, but it takes a village. It takes all of us together, and Miriam has been amazing. Miriam actually built our PowerPoint for the Western Veterinary Conference and stuff like that.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
we work together. All of us work together hand in hand. It takes all of us. So you guys too, part of our team. Thank you.
Yeah. We are
Absolutely.
happy to help. Thank you, Tauni. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, Kat, did you learn some things tonight?
I did. It's scary. It's sad. And it's here. It exists. So make sure your breeder. Can you test the dogs after they're
Oh, yeah.
born?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something. Sometimes if you get a puppy and you're not sure, they come to you in various ways. All of mine have found me.
Yes.
So,
they have.
you know, if they find you like they find me and you're not sure, you can go to the vet and request a test. If your vet is not sure or is not comfortable with DM, be sure and reach out to us. We'll connect you to a lot of these experts that we have. We
Yes.
love being your resource to help anyway.
That's right.
So please go to Shade Out DM, join the movement. Also, thank you for joining us here at Corgi Town, USA, and giving us your time. We are here for you every Thursday. Please follow us on YouTube so we have new episodes. We are also on Google Podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. Basically, anywhere you can find podcasts at Corgi Town, USA. Follow us on Instagram at Corgi Town, USA, and of course, Facebook. So from all of us, that's Candy, Cat, Chuckles, and Digby, and Wiggin down there somewhere.
Wiggin is down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Our guest honorary corgi.
We hope that you've enjoyed the cacophony of borks. Cacophony of borks.
Works. Yes.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.